friends, it's Deanna Willison from Our Blooming Catholic Life. This is probably the 50th time I have tried to film this video. This is Spoon River Anthology. This was the first book I read in college when I went to Seton Hill College. It was then called that. Now it's Seton Hill University. At the time I went, it was a Catholic women's college. Well, sort of. That's what it called itself. We'll go with that. And so I had a class called Freshman Seminar. It's not exactly what a lot of colleges call Freshman Seminar. This really had a professor and a TA/RA who accompanied us the whole year. It was a topical class that introduced us to every aspect of college and dorm life. My seminar mates, again, were my floor mates. My RA was my TA for the class, so she was available at all times, as well as we played sports, we did field trips, we did everything with our seminar teammates. And even when we had those awkward freshman informational sessions, I'll say, they were always with our seminar mates, and so we trusted them and felt comfortable delving into some sensitive topics with those people there. So it was a great program. I loved the freshman seminar. This is the first book I believe we read. It's really adorable. Inside the cover, it has my maiden name, my college mailbox, and my room number. It's so funny. What is this book? It is a poetry anthology, but it's a drama. It's real and imagined dead people of this town in the Midwest, and they speak from their graves. Like as you walk from grave to grave, each person is speaking to you. So each person has been lying in the grave a different period of time, and they've had more or less time to reflect on their lives. As you begin the book, people are very concerned with earthly matters, and as you move, the reflections continue and they move. And although I believe this book is probably very secular and parts of it were scandalous in its time, for me, this speaks to daily conversion as well as to the purification that we undergo in purgatory. I don't think that was the author's intent, and I don't think that was my professor's intent, but that's what I took from it. Have you ever done that, friends? Looked back on your life? Look back at who you were when you first went away to college or graduated high school, whatever. Are you the same person? Have you changed? What changed you? What made you look at things differently? When you look back on that life, do you see events differently than you did then? Recently, at my birthday party, I had been talking to my sister about something that happened in our early teen years. And our stories started on the same path, and then they completely diverged. I thought it was a funny story, and to her, it was devastating and heartbreaking. And I had no idea she had that impression of that event. And I'm sorry she ever felt that way. And she's never had that reflection. Although interacting with me, maybe she sees it in a different light. And maybe it's not such a big, deep wound anymore. So it speaks to wounds of life. It speaks to a lot of things. This book meant a lot to me back in the day. And of course, what is my impression of it now? Let's see. It was copyrighted, in 1914 and 1915 by Wilhelm Marion Reedy. It says Edgar Masters. Interesting. And it was copyrighted in 1915, 16, 42, and 44 by Edgar Masters, and in 62 by Macmillan Publishing Company. Interesting. I don't know what's up with that. Let's see here. Spoon River Anthology is also published, well, at the time it was also published in a hardcover edition, and this one was printed in the United States. Any other information? It does have a new introduction by Mae Swenson, and I think that was for the 62 edition. It said it was the first of its kind, and it was a phenomenon in American literature when it appeared in 1915. It is not less so today. Originally conceived as a novel, having the ingredients of a fatalistic drama as well as those of a tract on social injustice, the anthology is a series of poetic monologues by 244 former inhabitants, both real and imagined, of Spoon River, an area near Lewistown and Petersburg, Illinois, where Master spent much of his boyhood. All in the cast are dead. All are sleeping on the hill of a Midwestern cemetery, and from their graves they speak their own epitaphs Discovering and confessing the real motivations of their lives, they reveal the secret steps that stumbled them to failure or raised them to illusionary triumphs while alive. It is as if the darkness of the grave granted them revelatory eyes for a recognition of their own souls. Masters was born in Garnett, Kansas in 1868. He was in his middle 40s when he began this. He has published 11 books of verse, plays, and essays without gaining attention. Later evaluators agreed that his early work reflected too obvious and energetic a worship of Keats, Shelley, Milton, Swinburne, and Whitman. He was to see published a total of over 50 volumes before he died in 1950, none of them up to the mark of the anthology. He did attempt a sequel, The New Spoon River, in 1924. It pictured the community as can I say urbanized instead of this word? Although called a failure by many critics, it too was a bestseller. He formed the third pillar of the poetic Renaissance in the Midwest in the second decade of the 20th century, Chicago being the focal point. I'm going to skip all the history, gives a slight biography as well as a history of the time, and then goes a little bit into the contents. The contents are listed alphabetically. So if you're looking up somebody's grave, it's kind of like if you're going in to a cemetery, find a grave index. A lot of us use that on Ancestry or whatever. So the people are listed by last name alphabetically, just as you may search for them in an actual graveyard. That's really funny. It's a little difficult to find at the page number just because there's no line that goes over. So you would want to get like a piece of paper or something and do that if you were looking for a particular person. And I believe that's the way we were assigned the book. We were given particular people to read at different times. I have some notes in the comments that some people were victims. Interesting. At the end, there's something called a spooniad, an epilogue, and further reading. So this starts out with The Hill. Let's just read the first one, The Hill. Where are Elmer, Herman, Bert, Tom, and Charlie? The weak of will, the strong of arm, the clown, the boozer, and the fighter. All are sleeping on the hill. One passed in a fever, one was burned in a mine, one was killed in a brawl, one died in a jail. One fell from a bridge, toiling for children and wife. All are sleeping on the hill. Where are Ella, Kate, Mag, Lizzie, and Edith? The tender heart, the simple soul, the loud, the proud, the happy one. All are sleeping on the hill. One died in shameful childbirth, one of a thwarted love, one at the hands of a brute and a brothel, one of a broken pride in the search for heart's desire. One after life in faraway London and Paris was brought to her little space by Ella and Kate and Mag. All are sleeping on the hill. Where are Uncle Isaac and Aunt Emily and old Townie Kincaid and Seving Houghton and Major Walker, who had talked with venerable men on the Revolution? All are sleeping on the hill. They brought them dead sons from the war, and daughters whom life had crushed, and their children fatherless crying. All are sleeping on the hill. Where's old Fiddler Jones, who played with life all his 90 years, braving the sleet with bared breast, drinking, riding, thinking neither of wife nor kin, nor gold nor love nor heaven? Lo, he babbles of the fish fries of long ago, of the horse races long ago at Clary's Grove, of what Abe Lincoln said one time at Springfield. And then they are not alphabetized as they're in the book, and they're not given dates or anything. It's up to you to guess whether they are chronologically in here at different stages of their purification, if you will, or are they mingled throughout? Does the time in the grave, is that what changes you? Is that time on earth? Is that what gives you your daily conversion? Do you grow necessarily because of time? I don't know. And some of these interact. You'll get part of one side of a story from one poem, and the next one will give you another one. Let's see this here. Hod Putt. Here I lie close to the grave of old Bill Pearsall, who grew rich trading with the Indians, and who afterwards took the bankrupt law, and emerged from it richer than ever. Myself, grown tired of toil and poverty, and beholding how old Bill and others grew in wealth, robbed a traveler one night near Proctor's Grove, killed him unwittingly while doing so, for the which I was tried and hanged. That was my way of going into bankruptcy. Now we who took the bankrupt law in our respective ways sleep peacefully, side by side. Ollie McGee. Have you seen, walking through the village, a man with downcast eyes and haggard face? That is my husband, who by secret cruelty never to be told, robbed me of my youth and my beauty, till at last, wrinkled and with yellow teeth, and with broken pride and shameful humility, I sank into the grave. But what you think you gnaws at my husband's heart? The face of what I was, the face of what he made me. These are driving him to the place where I lie. In death, therefore, I am avenged. So these ones aren't very great, are they? They're a little scary here. I'm going to go ahead and skip a little bit into it. Here we have Margaret Fuller Slack. I would have been as great as George Eliot, but for an untoward fate. For look at the photograph of me made by Penniwit, chin resting on hand and deep-set eyes. Gray, too, and far searching, but there was the old problem. Should it be celibacy, matrimony, or unchastity? Then John Slack, the rich druggist, wooed me, luring me with the promise of leisure for my novel, and I married him, giving birth to 8 children, and had no time to write. It was all over with me anyway, when I ran the needle in my hand while washing the baby's things and died from lockjaw, an ironical death. Hear me, ambitious souls. Sex is the curse of life. My goodness, friends. That is her opinion. Let's see here. George Trimble. Do you remember when I stood on the steps of the courthouse and talked free silver and the single tax of Henry George? Do you remember that when the peerless leader lost the first battle, I began to talk prohibition and became active in the church? That was due to my wife, who pictured me to my destruction if I did not prove my morality to the people. Well, she ruined me, for the radicals grew suspicious of me, and the conservatives were never sure of me. And here I lie, unwept of all. So you can see that very much mortal concerns still for these people, and that we're, I know, a quarter of the way in the book. Does it change over time? You could honestly take any of these social issues, just read one of these, and go out and see how that issue played out in their time or how that issue played out in our time, how it plays out into your faith. It's really, it's a snapshot, like how icons are a moment, just one moment of a life, right? Usually a life of the saint or a life of Christ, just one moment. And so this is a little snapshot of a social ill in this book, and you could certainly take time. If you're doing like a service learning class, I don't know that I would recommend all of these for younger readers, but you could take a social ill, read the anthology, read the little poem, and then do some research into currently how is this issue played out and how could you involve? Is there a service learning project there? So as a group, a great way to read this book would be to read one of these, discuss the current, how this issue is playing out currently, and then maybe different people will choose to do different projects, or maybe as a group you want to do a project that relates to one of these, or maybe you'll read a series of them and then decide on one project. It could play out many ways. Here's one that does seem timely as well. Rosie Roberts. I was sick, but more than that, I was mad at the crooked police and the crooked game of life. So I wrote to the chief of police in Peoria. I am here in my girlhood home in Spoon River, gradually wasting away. But come and take me. I killed the son of the merchant prince in Madame Lou's. All the papers that said he killed himself in his home while cleaning a hunting gun lied like the devil to hush up a scandal for the bribe of advertising. In my room, I shot him at Madame Lou's because he knocked me down when I said that Ooh, this is not even what I thought it was. Well, now, this could still be a current issue. Let's skip a few more. Let's try. Oh, here on one page is Lambert Hutchins, and on the next one is Lillian Stewart, who says, I was the daughter of Lambert Hutchins. Circe Foote, Edmund Pollard. There are many here. Let's see. Henry Phipps. Let's see if we've got this. A lot of these did seem to have to do with sex, which I did not remember from freshman year. I was very innocent back then. Henry Phipps. I was the Sunday school superintendent, the dummy president of the wagon works and the canning factory, acting for Thomas Rhodes and the banking clique. My son, the cashier of the bank, wedded to Rhodes's daughters. My weekdays spent in making money, my Sundays at church and in prayer. In everything a cog in the wheel of things as they are, of money and master and man, made white with the paint of the Christian creed, and then The bank collapsed. I stood and looked at the wrecked machine. The wheels with blowholes stopped with putty and painted, the rotten bolts, the broken rods, the only hopper for souls fit to be used again, and the new devourer of life. When newspapers, judges, and money magicians build over again, I was stripped to the bone, but I lay in the rock of ages, seeing now through the game no longer a dupe, and knowing that the upright shall dwell in the land, but the wicked years of the wicked shall be shortened. Then suddenly Dr. Myers discovered a cancer in my liver. I was not, after all, the particular care of God. Why, even thus, standing on a peak above the mist through which I had climbed, and ready for larger life in the world, eternal forces moved me on with a push. You can use these to talk about the mercy of God. You can use them to talk about why suffering exists, why different issues exist, the role of church and state in our lives. You can use it to discuss, a lot of people discuss whether it is better to have government address social ills, and to what greater or lesser extent, or should charity and churches be the ones reaching out to people. There's so many social ills that you could discuss. This is a great starting point. Know that it is probably not a children's book. Obviously, this is a book for adults, but it is a great way to kind of delve into those issues, to break the ice, to get into them, to look at different people's stories, to get people open up. And I don't know, this made me more controversial than I remembered. I probably haven't read it since I was 25. And yeah, there is a lot to think about here. Some of these anthologies are tiny paragraphs. Some are 5 and, oh, I thought it was 5 and 6 pages, but that must be the Spoony Ed. Yeah, some of them are 2 and 3 pages though. The epilogue says it's the graveyard of Spoon River. 2 voices are heard behind a screen decorated with diabolical and angelic figures in various allegorical relations. A faint light shows dimly through the screen as if it were woven of leaves, branches, and shadows. And its first voice and second voice, oh, Beelzebub is in there. Yagarindra? And Loki. Oh my goodness. So I don't know. So there's a little religious thing going on there. What is the Spoony Ed? Says the late Mr. Jonathan Swift Summers, laureate of Spoon River, see page 146, planned the Spoony Ed as an epic and 24 book. Oh, like the Iliad, the Spoony Ed. But unfortunately did not live to complete even the first book. The fragment was found among his papers by William Marion Reedy and was for the first time published in Reedy's Mirror of December 18th, 1914. So perhaps this is something he had published separately, and it kind of ties a lot of the different epitaphs in the book together. So perhaps this was the novel that was originally planned that spawned the series, the anthology of poems instead. So it's a very interesting and curious book. It's a great icebreaker and topic introducer to many things and many social ills that have existed throughout humanity. Give it a try if you'd like. It's definitely interesting and not for the faint of heart. God bless you, friends.